Hello everyone and welcome. I hope everybody can hear me fine. And okay, thank you, Preeti. And this is what I'm going to expect in the 1 hour or so, that all of us we get together and the you uh, give your comments, you give your feedback, you give your suggestions, answers in the chat box, and we keep this as interactive as possible. Welcome to the English webinar. Today, we are going to talk about something that sits at the heart of almost everything we do in the English classroom, and that is vocabulary, right? So, okay. So the topic for today is the vocabulary toolbox. We are going to talk about strategies for building the word power in our students. Okay. So if you have questioned yourself, or if you have, thought about how can I, you know, build more stamina in our students in terms of their vocabulary, today we are going to discuss that, right? Today we're also going to, talk about what are the different tools that we can use in the classroom as teachers to enhance this particular skill in our students. So let's get ahead with it. Okay. So the objective of the webinar is that teachers will leave with practical classroom-ready strategies to help learners build vocabulary through context, word relationships, morphology, retrieval, and meaningful use. These are different strategies that I'm going to introduce today. And what I want you to think about is, instead of asking, how many words should my learners, learn today? How many words is too many words, or how many words are too less words? We're going to ask a slightly different question. And that question is, how can we help students become better at learning words independently? That means that shifting the responsibility from yourself as teachers to students themselves, we are going to focus on not how many words can my students learn, but instead, how can I build that skill in my students so that they can learn words independently, whether they are in the classroom or outside, right? So that becomes a sustainable thing, instead of them leaning upon us as teachers or others to learn words every day. So my question to you is, what is your biggest vocabulary challenge as teachers? What do you think is your challenge in terms of vocabulary when it comes to classroom learning? And the chat box, please, you can just go ahead on the chat box, type your responses, take 10 seconds to think. And the question is on the screen. The question reads, what is your biggest vocabulary challenge? What is the biggest struggle that you as teachers face when it comes to vocabulary building in our students? So I'm hearing a lot of, I'm getting a lot of responses. Sight words, okay. Okay, can somebody elaborate on sight words? You can go off mute and share. What do you mean by sight words? I mean, what exactly is the challenge with sight words? Somebody is saying apply the vocabulary learned. Students don't take interest, pronunciation. Students do not understand the formation of words. All of the challenges, very legit, very, very, very true. These are actual challenges. Pronunciation, comprehension, spellings. These are challenges that our students are facing, right? Okay, great. And if some of you have not been able to really understand the question or gotten an answer, I've given you some options. Okay, so there are options A to E. I just want you to type your option in the chat box. So A, students don't know enough words. Is that your challenge? They forget new words quickly. They understand a word but don't use it. They depend too much on dictionaries if they use it, and they struggle to understand words in context. These are some of the challenges. You can pick your challenge. What's the challenge that you are facing? And if all of these apply to you, then click, like, just say all of them. Okay, I'm getting a lot of responses. Okay, so basically we are able to identify what is the challenge that we are facing in the classroom. Great. And now, as I'm looking at the responses, you will notice I'm noticing something very important here, that these aren't really 5 separate problems, right? These all point towards a bigger issue, that vocabulary is just not about knowing a word, right? It's just not about, okay, I know the meaning of this and that's it, right? It's about being able to, vocabulary is about being able to recognize a word, understand it, remember it, and eventually use it. So just because my student is scoring 5 on 5 on word meanings does not mean that that student is able to apply those word meaning or difficult words in their everyday language, or are they? Or maybe a word that they've learned in like 2 grades before, are they able to use that word today? So it's a process that we can see. A student should be able to recognize a word, they should be able to understand it, then remember it, and then eventually use it. If they are able to do all these 4 things, then we say that, okay, the student is vocabulary rich, right? But if not, then we need to do something more about it, right? Let's move on. So this is what I was just talking about, which is the vocabulary journey. The vocabulary isn't just about knowing a word. It is like a whole journey that we can chart out, right? So it starts from meeting. You see a word and then you notice it, which means that you see it more than 2-3 times. Then you begin to understand it. You figure out what the word actually means, or how does the word matter, right? Then you connect the word. That's the next step, which means that you link the word to words and ideas you already know. One example can look like you connect it to synonyms, antonyms, or experiences. You start using the word, right? Then you retrieve it. That's the next step. And that means you bring the word to mind from memory. So that means that you're able to recollect the word in your mind without any help from, books or anything. So that means you recall it without looking it up. Then you use it. That means that the person can independently choose that word in their mind and use it in their everyday speaking or writing. And then the 7th one is own the word. The word becomes a part of your active vocabulary. It's no longer something that you search for, or you just look it up in your books or notebooks, but then you use it very, very normally, very actively. And that is the whole journey of vocabulary. If a student is able to do all of these things in this manner, then we can say that, okay, my student, or my, I am vocabulary rich, right? Okay, we can move ahead. And here is just like a smaller myth, you can say, or a misconception, as you will, that the more words we teach, the stronger students' vocabulary becomes. And sometimes, we as teachers get into the trap that, I need to pull up a story or a poem or a prose that needs to have as many new words as possible. And we need to teach them as many, word meanings as possible. And that will tick off the vocabulary, need of our students. But actually, I believe that's a misconception, because it does not matter how many words we teach, right? What matters is if my students are following that vocabulary journey, are they able to recollect that word after I've taught them? So quality of encounter is more important than quantity of words. So let's say you teach one word and the student is using that word throughout. That is more valuable than when my student is learning 10 words, but they're not able to use any of those words in their everyday language, right? So the more the students connect to that word, the better it is for their vocabulary, right? Um, Let me know if you agree with this in the chat box. Okay. So what does it really mean to know a word, right? Knowing a word means more than knowing its definition. So what are the different dimensions? They have to know their meaning, their form, their use, their collocation, word family, and they have to register the kind of the word that it is, right? We are going to talk more about this in the coming slides when I'm going to tell you the different tools that are there and how these connect, okay? So now I'm going to introduce the different vocabulary strategies that I've come up with that will help you in your classrooms and our students in developing vocabulary, right? Okay. So the first strategy that I've come up with is the context detective, right? Now, what is the context detective? It's about not telling immediately what the word means. And we teach the students to investigate. So basically, whenever they come up with a new word, our instinct is to quickly tell them what does it mean, right? Okay, they come up with a new word. Okay, you know what? This word means this. Finish. No, that's not we are going to do. That's not what we are going to do. What we are going to do is apply the strategy of context detective. Here are 4 clues that we give our students, okay, to know the meaning of a word. The first is surrounding words. So we're going to try to understand the meaning of a word by looking at the surrounding words. Then the other clue is the sentence meaning. You don't have to know the exact definition of the word, but if you're able to understand what that sentence means somehow or the other, then that becomes our clue, right? The third is example. If the word has examples here and there around it, that becomes our clue. And if we can understand what happens before or after that word, then that also might become our clue. Okay? A lot of theory. I'm going to move forward with an example so that we understand better. Okay, let's take the word reluctant. Okay, reluctant is our word. And I have presented a sentence to you. The boy was reluctant to enter the dark room. He stood at the doorway and refused to go inside. Okay, the word that we have, before us is reluctant, right? We all know the meaning of reluctant, but let's say we are going to find out the clues in this sentence to find out the meaning of reluctant again. Okay. Now, how can we find out the clues? I have a 3-step strategy for you, which is the stop, clue, and predict. Okay. What can I figure out from what I already know? First, we have to stop at the sentence. So we stop at the sentence. Then we look for clues. And then we predict what might be the meaning of that one sentence. Okay. The goal is not to necessarily get every word right. As I said, the goal is not to pull out the exact definition of that word, but the goal is to develop the habit of asking. So when our students are reading, the goal is not that whenever they come across a new word, they should be able to pull out the definition, but they should ask themselves. We have to increase the curiosity in our students of what that one word might mean exactly. What can I figure out from what I already know? And how does that look like in action? Here are some clues that I can find out. Clue 1, he stood at the doorway. So the boy is standing at the doorway. That's our one clue. That is something that I could see happening. He's not going inside, right? He's just standing at the doorway. And the second clue is that he refused to go inside. He refused to go inside, meaning he's not going inside, you know. So we have two clues here, that one, he is standing at the doorway, and second, he's not going inside. Okay, then what does this infer? What can we understand from this? That, okay, maybe he's afraid to go inside, and that is why maybe he does not want to go inside. So maybe reluctant can mean somehow that he didn't really want to enter that room, you know. So using these subtle clues, we might not have arrived at the definition, but what we are actually doing here is we're building thinking habits in our students, which is very important for comprehension. And the second thing is we are deriving clues from elsewhere to find out the meaning of that one word that I don't understand. Now, I'm going to pause here. I'm going to ask you as teachers if you have applied this technique in your classrooms or not. Or what do you think about this technique? I'm going to wait for 10 seconds in the chat box. I'm also going to invite somebody to speak. Yes, Sajida. Go ahead. Hi, Sajida. Do you want to say something regarding this technique? Have you tried it in your classroom? Okay. Would anybody else like to, share if they have tried this in their classroom? I'm going to wait for 10 more seconds. Okay, I get a lot of comments in the chat box that I apply it in my classroom. Fantastic technique. Yes, we are explaining with sentences. Amazing. Great. One quick suggestion I would like to give you is this is a very good time to let the students think, which means that you will really need to give your students the chance to predict the meaning themselves. We have a lot of instinctual, like tendencies to quickly tell them the meaning of this word. Okay, what does this suggest? What does this suggest? And this is your meaning. That's not what you're going to do. What we're going to do is let the students be. Even if they are getting wrong, let them get wrong as long as they are thinking about what it might mean, right? And then we have a lot of time to correct them, but let them think. That's the core essence of this technique, right? Okay, we're going to move ahead because we have 7 techniques coming up. Okay, the second techniques are word paths are powerful. Okay, what does this mean? Is using word paths to unlock the meaning, right? And here again, I have broken this down into 3 parts, which is your prefix, your root, and your suffix. Very easy, right? But how can I use this simple technique to, make bigger words easier for my students, right? So an example here is uncomfortable. So un becomes your prefix, comfort becomes your root word, and able becomes your suffix, right? What am I doing here? I'm breaking up the bigger words into smaller chunks, right? How does this help my students? Is that whenever the next time they see a word with similar prefix and suffix, they themselves will be able to break down the word and find the root word to find its meaning, right? So I'm simplifying bigger words into smaller chunks, right? One example of how you can use this is, my question to you is, if you can, how many words can you create from this word here? I'm going to give you 10 seconds and you have to write the answers in your chat box. I want to know how many words can you create from this one word, which is help. Helpful. Preeti saying helpful. Helpless, helpful, helpless, unhelpful. Very good, Priya. Okay, helpful, helpless, Helper, very good, Swati. Helping, helped, helpful, great. A lot of words. See how one word can help me create a lot of different other words, right? You guys have aced this word building challenge, and so will your students, okay? So my question now is, which word has the strongest connection to the original meaning? Now that you have created all of these words, right? Helpful, helpless, unhelpful, helping, all of these words you have created. You have 5 to 6 words at your hand. Which of those words has the strongest connection to help? Which of those words? Does helpless mean help? Does unhelpful mean help? Does helpful mean help? Does helping mean help? Which has the strongest connection? Yeah. And I know I'm getting a lot of answers in the chat box, and I'm going to move on. And as you said, all of these words here, you guys suggested. Helpful, helpless, helper. I can't see the screen. Helpfully, unhelpful. The strongest connection to the original meaning, of course, is helpfully, helpful, maybe helper also, but helpful and helpfully. Now I want to know what changed, what stayed the same, right? I can see if I add ful as a suffix, that bears the strongest meaning to my root word. If I add less, helpless, to my root word, then it means the opposite of what the root word is, right? What I'm actually doing here is creating new words. Number one, I'm creating new words from the root word. That's what I'm doing. One. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm trying to understand which word has the strongest connection to the original meaning, right? And in doing so, I'm understanding a very basic concept of, creating bigger words from a root word. So vocabulary is a network. It is not isolated words. It is a network of different words, which might mean similar things, which might mean very, very different things. But what we are trying to make students understand is that you can create a lot of words from one word, and that vocabulary is not about different words having different meanings. All of these words have different meanings, but somehow they are all connected to this one root word, right? So vocabulary is a network. So if we practice this network building in our classrooms, we can increase the vocabulary of our students, right? We can, this was a very basic word, but you can practice it with, even bigger words, right? So this was just very, very easy, just an introductory word. Okay, moving on. This was our vocabulary 2. Strategy 2. We come to strategy 3, which is word families, right? Now it's very similar to the previous strategy, unless it's very different. How many words can we grow from one word? Now, till now we were doing suffix and prefix, but now we move a step further and we create more words from one word. So again, in your chat box, I want you to create as many words as possible from this one word. Okay, I've already getting answers. Creative. Okay, that's one word. Creative. How many more words? Creator. Very good. Creation, creativity, reactive. Wow, amazing. Great. So we are creating a lot of words from different words, right? So once students understand word parts, we can create word families, right? So what we are trying to do is, next time you give out meanings to the word, let's say I'm trying to make them understand the meaning of create, and I tell them create is equal to make. Create is make. No, that's not what we are going to do. what we are going to do is we're going to tell them to create as many words from this one word. So create becomes creation. It also means gets creative, creatively, creator, recreate. So we build a vocabulary system around one word. Very similar to the previous strategy, except this one is not restricted to suffix and prefix, right? This is one strategy of how we can build a vocabulary system in our classroom. So the next time you are introducing a new word, you can use this strategy in the classroom and challenge your students to create as many words. Or if they are not able to create, ask them to find words in newspapers, books, poems, anywhere that can become that they can make their own family vocabulary family of their own particular word. Okay. Now this is the fourth strategy of word relationships. Okay. And what is how are we going to talk about it is you connect the word. Okay. You connect the word to other words that mean similar things. Okay. So let's say, as you can see on the screen, if I say big means large, then that is not truly correct. I mean, that's correct in one part. But when I say big is large, I'm restricting the vocabulary of my students, right? I'm not allowing them to think more about what might be the other synonyms of big, right? So big might mean large, might mean huge, might mean enormous, and then ask, are they exactly the same? Now, pause for a second. I'm going to pause for 10 seconds. I want you to look at the screen and I want you to understand what we are doing here. Okay? The purpose of this strategy is not for our students to learn about synonyms. The purpose of this strategy is to understand the nuances of these different words and how they are different from each other. Okay? How this helps our students is that they not for them to have many words for one word, but for them to understand the meaning of the different synonyms and how they are different from each other, so that they can use appropriate words in appropriate situations. Okay, I'm going to move to the next screen and we are going to understand it better. Okay, synonyms are useful, but we shouldn't teach synonyms as if they are always interchangeable, right? So we have big, large, huge, enormous, gigantic, right? All of these words, they communicate size, but they have different degrees of intensity and different usage patterns, right? So if I say, I saw an enormous balloon today, that wouldn't make much sense. I mean, not correct, like not precise, right? So what is a synonym for big? The next time you're going to ask this question to your students, you're not going to ask, what is a synonym for big? Instead, what we are going to do is, which word would best fit this sentence and why, right? So I'll give you examples right here. Is how we are going to do is we are going to put words on a scale, right? And I have this task for you. Again, I want you to go to your chat box and I want you to arrange these words from least intense to most intense. Okay? Going to give you 10 seconds. These 4 words, I want you to arrange them, starting from the least intense, going to most intense. Okay, angry, enraged, furious. Okay. Okay. Angry, furious, engaged. Okay. See, some people think it's furious and then enraged. Some people think it's enraged and then furious. Now, that's a good challenge for everybody. And this is how we want our students to be challenged also, that it's easy for us to understand synonyms and antonyms, but can they differentiate between the synonyms and when to use what? So here it goes from annoyed, angry, and then you get furious, and then get really enraged, really, really angry, right? And this is how we have put words on a scale. This is the least intense of one feeling, and this is the extreme end of one feeling, right? And this is uh, what we want our students to understand also, that synonyms are good, but they should know the meaning, and that only happens when we truly understand the nuances of those words, right? Students are thinking about meaning, intensity, and nuance, right? So it does not mean that enraged always means angry, but in by putting the words on a scale, they will understand that enraged means very, very angry, right? So next time they will not say I had a very enraged teacher. They will say I had a very angry teacher. Okay. Similarly for happy, happy can be the least on a scale, right? And let's say ecstatic can be like really, really elated, can be something very, very happy. So I had a very elated teacher, or you know things like that. So this is something that we need to build in our students. So the next time that you are doing synonyms, use this practice, right? Okay, we're going to move forward to the fifth strategy that we have. And don't worry, I'm going to provide you a cheat sheet at the end so that you have all the strategies with you. Okay, I know I'm moving a little too fast today. Okay, so collocations. Words have friends, right? Whenever we try to teach a new word or teach the meaning of a new word, we just don't tell them, okay, what is the meaning of make? What is the meaning of create? What is the meaning of, enraged? We just don't teach them one word, or we just don't learn one singular word. As we also saw previously, that vocabulary is just not separate words, isolated words, but they're actually a network. They actually create a family of different words. What we learn is we make set a decision, we make a mistake, we make an effort, we make progress. So basically we don't just learn words, we also learn how to use that word. Unless and until we know how to use a word, it won't make any sense, right? So now again, a challenge for you is, which one sounds more natural, the one on the left or the one on the right? Do a mistake, does that sound more natural to you, or make a mistake? Strong rain or heavy rain? Big decision or major decision? Say a lie or tell a lie, right? Both on the left hand side and the right hand side, they are trying to portray the same meaning, but how do we tell that meaning, or what vocabulary words do we use? That is the game changer here. So the goal is that students have to notice patterns. They don't only have to simply know the definition, right? They should. It's not enough for them to know the meaning of make, but what's important is they should be able to understand how to use that in a sentence, right? And also to notice pattern. If they are presented with these two phrases, they should be able to predict that, okay, no, even though they have the same meaning, but this is more grammatically correct, right? So what it brings us to, okay, so this is one technique that uh, uh, I will suggest you really use it in your prose. Whenever you have a new word, always look. always ask the students to look for words after and before that word, so that it it really sticks into their mind on how to use that word, or how do those words occur in a phrase, right? Exactly, Preeti, making a phrase, right? Correct. So that was one strategy. We come to the sixth strategy, which is retrieval, not just recognition, right? And what does it mean? It means that seeing a word is not equal to remembering a word. Just because we are looking at different words every day does not mean that I will also remember that word, right? When do we actually remember a word, right? If we tell them reluctant is equal to unwilling. So reluctant means unwilling, right? Okay. Now, as a teacher, I will present them with two kinds of questions. You tell me which question out of these two will be the most helpful in understanding vocabulary. Okay. The first one is, what does reluctant mean? And the second question is, what word describes someone who doesn't want to participate? Which of these two questions will actually test vocabulary in our students? Okay, Preeti is saying second. What about others? What about others? Which of these questions will really test the vocabulary skill in our students? Okay, I'm getting a lot of answers, but you know what I want to do? I want to invite somebody to go off mute and just share why they feel the second question will be more helpful. I want to ask somebody to go off mute and share why will the second question be more helpful. Why not the first one? Why the second one?
I think by this students will give many answer, and with this student will get slow lot of vocabulary related to this.
Yes. Thank you, Satpreet, for answering that question.
Thank
Yes. Yes, you're saying? Okay. So Satpreet said that the second question will help them to think more about other words also, and enrich their vocabulary. Hazel wants to say something. Hazel?
Yeah, I also feel like when they read the question, right, like what word describes someone who doesn't want to participate, there are times where they might go wrong as well. And they say those wrong words because they feel it is related to participate. But then at the same time, we can always correct them and tell them what is related and what is not. And yeah, I agree with the person who said first, this will really enhance their vocabulary rather than we just focusing on one thing. This opens the branches to a lot of other words as well.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much, Hazel and Satpreet, for answering. Exactly, bang on point. It will. I'm also on the chat box. I can see a lot of teachers are saying that how it will help them with their critical thinking, how it would make them think, reflection on the term. Yes, absolutely. And something that I also want to add on to this is that this the first question simply tells them to tell the meaning of one word. The second question cross questions them if they have truly understood the meaning of that word, right? Let's say if I give them reluctant and I ask them, okay, it means unwilling. In my question, I have not used the word unwilling at all. So this question will really help me as a teacher understand if my student has actually grasped the nuance of that word, right? Uh, if I tell them, okay, what word means unwilling, then they might be able to say reluctant because I've used the same exact word I gave them for their word meaning. But if I ask them this question, which has more of explanation in it, then this will actually help us as teachers see if they have actually retrieved the meaning of the word and just not recognized the word. Okay, great exercise. Moving forward, the first question here, it's more about recognizing. What does the word reluctant mean? Okay, unwilling. But for, for my students to be able to retrieve the meaning of the word, this question will serve the best purpose. Okay. And here I have like a cheat sheet with you. It's a 5-minute retrieval routine that you can use in your classroom. Okay, I'm going to leave it on for 10 seconds. You can take a screenshot of this. Okay. Meanwhile, I will take in Jaya. Jaya, would you want to say something? You're raising your hand. Hi, Jaya. Would you want to say something? You're raising your hand. Okay. Meanwhile, I hope you have taken a screenshot. I will quickly explain this. So what is 5-minute vocabulary routine that you can use in your classroom? So the first is recall. You recall the meaning, right? What does reluctant mean? Okay, reluctant means unwilling. Okay. The second is you match it with a synonym, right? And it's increasing in rigor. Example with reluctant: excited, willing, hesitant, eager. Okay, out of all of these options, hesitant is the best word that suits the word reluctant. Okay. Okay. Then 1 minute, you complete uh, a sentence with reluctant. Okay. She was reluctant to speak in front of the large audience. So first we did the word meaning. Then we found out, a synonym or an antonym. Then we created a sentence out of reluctant. And then you use it in your own sentence. So we challenge our students to use that word in a sentence of their own. Okay. And then the fifth part is you explain it without using the word. You know what? The fifth part of this strategy, you can use it in a game. You can gamify this. Whenever you are next time you're taking a test, or you're doing a dictation test, or that sort. Uh, Even for your internal examination, extracurricular activities, you can use this as a game. So the fifth one is you explain it without using the word. So without using the word reluctant, I'm going to explain it to my students, okay, or to my friends. So this is like a 5-minute routine that you can do with your students in the classroom every day, in the zero period maybe, or any free period that you have. Okay, I hope everybody has taken screenshots. I'm going to move forward, which in the last strategy of today's webinar, which is make students use the word. Okay. Again, I'm going to leave the screen on for 10-15 seconds for you to take a screenshot. And now, how do we use it in our classrooms, right? You are all familiar with the first one. We give our students an exercise of write the meaning of. We give the word and they have to write the meaning of that word. Okay. Now, why is this not suggestible? Is because it's passive. It's one time and it's very easy to forget. At least I forgot all the word meanings that I was taught in my school. But what he can do differently is, how can we make the word do some work? Okay. Say it. So the students are challenged to say a sentence using the word. So instead of asking them to tell the word meaning, we tell them to say the word with, yes, practice. As Nahid said, practice the word. Say a sentence using the word and then write it. You write your own sentence with that word and then you act it. You act out the word without saying the word, without speaking, right? You connect the word. You connect it to another word or idea, right? Question with it. You ask a question with that word and find it. Find the word in a book, article, or around you. And how is this helpful? And why am I suggesting this to you? Is because this activity or this strategy is very active, it's meaningful, and it's memorable, right? Now, I do understand that this can be very similar to the previous strategy that we did, but something that you can do differently here is, we have different rigor of students in our classroom, right? There are some students who are very good with vocabulary, very good with spellings, let's say, and there are some students who are not good with spellings. Students who are not good with spellings, You can use the first two, parts to to practice with them. Now, the first two parts will be very easy for students who are very good with spellings, right? You can use, for those students who are mid rigor or high rigor, you can use the rest of the strategies with them. What I'm trying to say is, just because it has one, two, three, four, five, six parts to it, does not mean that you have to use all the six parts at once. You can pick and choose which is the best for your students and which is the best for you to manage your time and the students time, right? Now, if let's say if my student is able to create a question out of a word that I introduced in the classroom, my next assignment will not be to say that word. My next assignment to them will be to find the word in a book or an article that they are reading, or maybe in the newspaper. Tomorrow's newspaper, find a word, find this word, and come back the next day and show it to me. So, or come back with a meaning, similar meaning in the newspaper, and show it to me. So this is a strategy in which you have to use it very, very smartly in your classroom. Okay. Going to pause for 5 seconds. I want to hear if anybody has used this kind of strategy in their classroom, if it has worked with them or not. Okay, Meenakshi says yes. Abida says yes. Would anybody like to come off mute and share if how has this strategy helped you with words, acting? Great. Would anybody who would like to come off mute and share how has this, or if you have faced any challenge with this strategy in your classroom and you want to share it with others also? Would anybody like to come off mute and share? No? Okay. Keeping the time in mind, I'm going to move forward. So we are done with all the strategies, all the 7 strategies. And this is like, here I have a list of all the strategies here and what it develops in our students, right? So context clues, they always help develop independence. Hi, Adi, you want to share something? Hi, Adi. Adi Lakshmi. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Word parts develop word solving. Word families help with connections. Synonym and antonyms help with meaning, understanding the nuances of the words. Collocations help with natural usage, right? Retrieval helps with memory, and meaningful use helps with fluency, right? So the students are not only stuck in books or proses, but they are able to use the words in their everyday language and find out new words in different places. Okay, so with that, I my last question to you today is, for your next English lesson, which strategy would you like to use out of all of these? Would you like to teach a word through context, build a word family, teach a collocation, use retrieval, create vocabulary continuum, make students use new words? Which one would you like to use in your next class? Okay. Nasreen says word family. Preeti says one by one all. Teach with context, make students use new words. Contextual. Great. And if anybody would like to come off mute and share why would they, prefer one strategy over the other, please feel free to do so. So Jata says one by one, it will be very interesting. Javeria also says all step by step. Swati also says all. Usha says make students use new words, word family. Okay. And while you are doing everything, okay, somebody, Preeti. Yes, Preeti. Preeti, you want to share something? Okay, we're going to move forward. While you are also planning your next English lesson, this is a question I want you to think about, constantly when you're planning, is where could I replace vocabulary memorization with vocabulary discovery? You know, it's not always necessary that you choose to, that we choose to make our proses and poems, uh, a source of, uh, the only source of vocabulary learning. You can bring in other sources as well, bring in articles, bring in newspapers, bring in library books, um, and then use them as sources so that students can learn via them and find new vocabulary words in the textbooks that they use. Okay, okay, with that, just putting it together is, the goal is for students to become more confident, independent word learners. So we as teachers, we don't just teach students words, right? We teach them how to learn words. And all of these strategies that I just presented today, the the goal of every strategy was how can we make students independent? How can they use one strategy over and over and over again independently, so that whenever they come across a new word, they can use those strategies by themselves and find out the meaning. Okay, Preeti, you want to unmute yourself? I can't do it on your behalf. Maybe try doing it from your end. And this is the cheat sheet that I wanted to share with everybody. Please feel free to take a screenshot. Uh, Please feel free to take a screenshot here. All of the 7 strategies are mentioned, and just a quick explainers on how you can do it. And here you have a list of examples on how you can, how does it look like in action. So I'm going to leave the screen for um, 10 seconds now. And can I, Supriya, I can send the PDF. Okay, I'll send over the PDF. Okay. Okay. While the screen is on, would anybody would like to share any uh, any question that they might have, any challenges that they think they might face using these strategies? Or if you have used any of these strategies and it has not worked, then please feel free to share that so that we can, discuss how, how we can make it more usable next time. Thanks, Minnie. It will be helpful. Okay, I'm going to leave the screen on for 1 minute more so that everybody has a chance to take a screenshot. You know what? You can zoom in also. Wait, so it's not zooming. Okay, I hope everybody has taken a screenshot. With that, I will also, this is, we have also launched our next Gurukul official WhatsApp channel. Here you can have all of the updates, right, regarding our products, our resources, insights. I will send over the PDF on the WhatsApp group. So whoever was not able to take a screenshot, you will find the PDF there. So please join the channel on the link given here. I think Swati wants to share something. Swati, would you like to go off mute and share? Hi, Swati, would you like to share?
Hi, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to share one of my personal experience as a English facilitator, and
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that all of the people, like all of the joinees here, would agree with me to some extent. What I have observed, like when we teach the vocabulary or the meaning or everything, ma'am. For example, let's say environment, the spelling. Okay, But what happens, ma'am? Like in English, the spelling is Environment. But generally, what happens if the same spelling gets repeated in science, and and if the child has forgotten to put N or something like that, then also I have seen the other teachers marking it right. So what happens is it creates a confusion among the children that what is the right spelling. Maybe the English teacher is biased towards me. Generally, the child psychology works that way. So I think it's as a facilitator, I think it's very important for all the teachers to stay on the same page. Recently, one of the experience which happened with me was last week. I just saw a poster, a poster or something, which was made by one of the child for individual and societies INS subject. So, like for social science, and the word is government. Government. The child has not put N, and the teacher has marked it correct. When I went to the class, I saw, oh, the child, this you have not put N there. And he started to argue with me. No, miss, the spelling is correct. My teacher said it's correct. I said, okay, let me just open the Google in front of you and let me just show you the right spelling. So I think it's not, the onus is not only on the English teachers, but also if the term or if the vocabulary gets repeated in science or mathematics or social science, I think we should penalize, not penalize maybe, but maybe we should all correct the students, because sometimes science teachers or maths teachers or social science, they just overlook it. But who gets caught? English teachers. So I think I wanted to share that. I think I'm pretty sure that many people would connect with me.
Yes, yes, Swati, I absolutely agree with you, and I'm sure others might also agree with you also. I think as it does not matter that we are English teachers only. We should be the one who who should be focusing on these little aspects. But all of the teachers in the school and in the section in the academic circle should be focusing on this. And I think if we put our voices across that for such things, it'll be easier on us as English teachers. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Swati, for sharing your experience. And for all of
Welcome.
those asking for the feedback, yes, thank you.